Thank you very much for joining me today, Chris. We thought it would be a great idea to invite one of our existing schools who have been using iSAMS for a number of years to talk about how your experience has been, how you utilize the system on a daily basis, what features or modules you find most effective to assist you day to day, and to just get a good insight into what it's like to be an iSAMS school in the Far East. As the applications manager for Tanglin Trust, we thought you'd be an excellent candidate for this Q&A, as you've been extremely effective with using iSAMS over the years. So again, thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure. And sorry for my accent, but for those who are listening, you can tell that I'm Australian expat in Singapore.
All right, excellent. To get started then, when did you begin using iSAMS and why did you move over from another provider?
Okay, so I started with Tanglin Trust School back in March 2020, effectively just at the beginning of COVID. So I basically inherited iSAMS as the system here. One of my first tasks was to look at the strategy for the application group. What were we doing as a school? And previously, we've been focusing on writing our own applications. And with it comes all the issues of not just the functionality, but integration between the various systems that are needed to run a school. So the first thing that we did with the application platform was we decided that iSAMS will be at the centre, one of our foundation systems. And by that I mean that it will be our one version of the truth, the place where the most current data resides, and we can leverage that in other applications that we could use. We moved away from writing our own applications and we went for commercial off-the-shelf applications, cloud-based. So having access to open industry-specific APIs in iSAMS made our job much easier there.
Good. And did you find that iSAMS sort of solved all those problems that you described? And if so, how?
Okay, the most important thing was the integration. With so many iSAMS partners out there and companies like Wand, which integration specialists working with iSAMS, it meant that we can look at the best of breed applications that we wanted, knowing that we could use the APIs in iSAMS basically to keep everything in sync and share the data from iSAMS with these other applications. So we deployed CPOMs, our pastoral care program, things like School Cloud, which we needed for COVID, for the parent-teacher evenings. And it was simply a matter of working with those companies to set up the correct APIs so that the data like parent information, student information, teacher information could be synchronized across and always kept up to date.
Brilliant. And how did you find the integrations of those third parties with iSAMS? How easy was that to sort of integrate?
Yeah, and I suppose you just got to go to the iSAMS partner site and have a look on the web. Very easy. There were providers out there that didn't have a direct relationship with iSAMS at the time, but Wand, which is a third-party integrator, has a lot of those connections, so it was pretty easy to get that connected. So what it means for the applications team now is we just monitor the logs, make sure that the replications happen on time. If there are any issues, we delve into it and get iSAMS and the vendor involved to look at what's happening. And it's just made our life a lot better and easier in that way.
Brilliant. That's some really great feedback. Thanks. And what would you say you like most about iSAMS?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I go back to my first impressions when I saw it, which was, wow, this is so comprehensive. It's pretty evident that it's been well designed and architected and then enhanced over years with what you would say would be best practices. There's a lot of existing workflows that have been built in there that in many cases we weren't necessarily following. And it was great to be able to see those, understand and know that they're being used by the majority of other schools out there and adopting them internally as well.
Cool. Excellent. And just sort of move the questioning to a different line. What iSAMS features do you use most often?
Most common ones would be SQL Server reporting services, which is Microsoft technology, which is used by iSAM to produce custom reports. We're always getting requests for different reports to be sent to heads of school in various areas of school. That one is really one of the most heavily used areas. The other one, interesting enough, is the communications capabilities. And this is basically user driven. So the ease of use with which someone in the school office can prepare a custom list of student parent names, for example, then put together an email using a template and sending it off to the parents to notify them of any changes that are happening or update them, is something that's very heavily used. And one of the best features of that is the communications that's sent out is stored against the student record. So we can go back, we've been using iSAMS for, I think, for about 10 years now. We can go back and see all the communications and everything that's happened between parents and the school going back that far.
Excellent. And leading on from that, what would you say your experience of the iSAM support team has been?
Okay, look at it in three areas. One is when something goes wrong, and that happens from time to time. It's very easy to load a support call and you almost get an instantaneous response. Even though UK based, there's people across Asia Pacific as well that get involved. And the communication and update is great. You know, they keep us involved, they give us estimates, what's going on, even when it's a mistake we've made ourselves. The other area would be when we need work done. If we've got a complex report that we really don't have the time and experience to do, is a matter of reaching out to iSAMS, explaining exactly what we want done. And yes, it's a fee for service in the majority of cases, but it's done more cost effectively than what we can do it and done quickly. So,
Excellent.
support.
That's some really great feedback. I'll make sure to let them know. They'd love to hear that. And lastly, how has iSAMS helped you to continue to operate throughout the pandemic? Because I know that's a big one for a lot of schools.
Yeah. And firstly, the open APIs, because we had to move into a remote learning environment. We had to do, there was no one in school. They were all remote lessons. And that was critical in having the information from iSAMS able to be integrated with the tools that we were using to do that, which was great. And it was also the responsiveness of iSAMS as a company and I suppose forward thinking, because once school did return and we did return to classes, we all knew that there were going to be breakout infections in schools when a student or a teacher or staff member tests positive while at school. And associated with that is the need for immediate contact tracing, contacting parents, telling children, quarantine, get tested. And one of the things that impressed me was before we actually started thinking about how we're going to do this, iSAMS have come up with a small enhancement that enabled us quickly just to put in a student name, pick their class, and it will produce a close contact list with all the details required to contact the parents. And that's the sort of thinking that really made me a fan of iSAMS, the company.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. That's a really great feedback. Thank you so much, Chris. I think that helps to give our existing and prospective schools a really fantastic insight into how our system and support team operates, as well as how easy it is to transition from other providers to iSAMS from a live schools perspective. If you're listening into this meeting and would like to discuss your system or how you can better utilize it, please feel free to get in touch with your account managers, most likely myself, or speak with the sales team if you are a prospective school looking to join our community, and we'd be happy to arrange a call to discuss in more detail. Thanks again, Chris, and all the best.
Thanks, Callum, and good luck.
Thank you.